The president of Madagascar reveals to Business Africa his plans to revive the country's economic fortunes. As Libyans struggle to make ends meet, a new oil export deal could boost the country's finances. And sewing to save their lives. Somalia strives to patch up its traditional textile industry. Hello and welcome to Business Africa. I'm Takumbo Salako. 7 years ago, Madagascar was rocked by violence as a political coup turned bloody. When a relative calm was restored to allow a fresh election, the man left standing was Hery Rajonarimampianina, who became president 2 years ago. But his time at the top has been troubled, so far marked by a move launched by both his supporters and rivals to throw him out of office last year. The bid to unseat him was rejected by the Constitutional Court, but the ripples of unrest are still being felt. When I met the president in France last week, I asked him about his plans to reunite the country and how he'll use its rich resources to stimulate growth. So talking of stability, Mr. President, it's only 2 years ago that the World Economic Forum ranked your country as among one of the lowest in the world for political stability. How do you react to that?
Mon premier objectif, c'est de mettre en place
My first objective is to put in place this stability.
Il faut cette stabilité.
We need political stability. We need the stability to attract investors.
À différents niveaux.
This stability is needed at different levels. It's called for in our deliverance of rights, the fight against corruption, good governance too.
Et je pense la bonne gouvernance aussi.
But if I can only just talk about investors, then we're putting in place a framework in which our businesses can attract and benefit from investments.
Des affaires qui pourraient attirer davantage ces investisseurs.
When you were last here, you described your country as being a work in progress in terms of its economic development. How would you assess it now?
Eh ben, le chantier se poursuit. Donc
the work in progress is continuing. It's a big job. We're carrying out big projects which I call structural.
Nous menons les grands projets que j'appelle les projets structurants. Vous savez, je suis pas là pour...
I'm not here to criticize what went on before, but our weakness is not having structural projects in the country.
Structurants qui manquaient dans le pays.
For example, let's consider energy. How can it be today that in a country like Madagascar, where we have sun, wind and very large flowing water, that 70% of our energy is produced by combustibles or fossil fuels?
Est produit encore par le thermique.
I think it's unacceptable. So today, I'm here to put in place renewable energy projects to make the most of our resources in order to boost our development.
Énergie renouvelable en plus pour utiliser.
That's what I call structural projects.
Afin justement de profiter de ces ressources-là pour le développement du pays. C'est ça que j'appelle les projets structurants.
Your country, of course, is very rich in natural resources, but still desperately poor. And, of course, with the fall across Africa in commodity prices, what are your plans to diversify?
Écoutez, justement, lorsque vous parlez de paradoxe...
That's a paradox that we want to address. We want to use our resources to help our country develop.
Justement, ces ressources-là pour l'intérêt du pays.
It's true that the mining industry is very important to our country, and last year we suffered when prices dropped.
L'économie est important. Et l'année dernière, nous avons subi les contre-coups de...
But we don't only have mines in Madagascar. We have great potential in several different sectors, like tourism.
Potentiel dans différents secteurs. Pour ne parler que du tourisme.
If you consider our ecosystem, which is practically unique, we have fauna and flora endemic to Madagascar, and all those things contribute to allow us to offer and develop a different ecological experience for tourists.
Tout ça, à mon avis, ce sont des produits d'appel pour développer un tourisme différent, un tourisme écologique, basé sur le développement aussi de l'environnement.
Mr. President, thank you for joining me today.
C'est vous que je remercie. Merci beaucoup.
You can watch the full interview later this week on Africanews, and it will also be available on our website. Now, Fayez al-Sarraj, the Prime Minister of Libya's unity government, received a boost this week in his efforts to restore peace and unity to the war-ravaged country. Rival factions have agreed in principle to have one corporation manage its oil exports. The blockade, added to disruptions elsewhere, has contributed to a rise in global prices. Before a bitter civil war broke out for control of the country, Libya had been producing 1.6 million barrels a day. And its continuing troubles are taking an increasing toll on its people, as Amakodjo and Serge Monku Nkombo report.
Families in Libya's capital, Tripoli, are struggling to make ends meet as the cost of commodities continue to rise. The country's oil-dependent economy has been severely affected by the current political crisis and conflict. The World Bank states that the political strife, weak security conditions and blockaded oil infrastructure continue to constrain the supply side of the economy. Production of crude oil fell to around a fourth of Libya's potential per day in 2015. Everyone is feeling the pinch, including banks, as residents choose to keep their money at home.
There are numerous reasons behind a failing economy. First and foremost, the lack of oil exports from the ports and oil fields. This is the main reason behind the crippled Libyan economy and has resulted in losses of some $70 billion in the last 2 years.
Residents of Tripoli said they are feeling the pressure from the price hikes.
The prices in the market are very high. Everything is more expensive. One will need 200 to 300 Libyan dinar a month to survive, but now one needs about 1,000, and thus without doing anything.
Last week, the foreign minister and the new UN-backed National Unity Government said rival factions have agreed in principle to have one oil corporation for the war-torn country. Exports from the port have been blocked recently due to a standoff between rival national oil corporations in the east and west.
We go to Somalia for our final story this week to examine what effect decades of war have had on the country's once thriving textile industry. Fashionable fabrics used to be widespread on the streets of Mogadishu a decade ago, but now cheaper, imported Western styles are more in demand. And what's left of the original trade is struggling to survive. This report is by Claire Muthinji and Hane Ferjian.
Mohamed Ado is busy in his small home-based textile enterprise, which is where he earns his daily living. He inherited the craft of weaving traditional garments from his father and has been doing this for over 2 decades. In his business, he has one helper, and together they spend their days creating colorful fabrics from bare thread. But today, they both lament over the challenges that face what was once a booming industry.
I have been doing this for 25 years. I inherited this company from my father. Each month I produce about 30 sarongs and sell each for about $10, but it's not easy.
During the war, we had to flee and stop work. Today, our main challenge is the importation of cheaper garments.
Due to gradual westernization of Somali culture, more youth in the country shun the traditionally woven garments in favor of those that are imported from China or India and are sold at a much cheaper price.
10 years ago, people preferred to wear the traditional fabrics, but now only few wear them.
Somalia's capital, Mogadishu, has gradually rebuilt following a civil war that spanned over 20 years. However, attacks staged by Al-Shabaab militants blight efforts made by enterprising Somalis who are keen on reviving the once thriving textile industry.
That report on Somalian textiles ends this week's show. You can share your views and comments on our social website. And of course, there's always more business on Africanews.com. See you next week.